Number 5 on this list is the purple golf cart. Never would I have thought that a purple golf cart would be so scary, but in this case, it absolutely is. Jeremy is a 31-year-old man who just over a decade ago lost his father. On the day that his father died, though, he received a crazy message, one that haunts him to this day. It was early in the morning and Jeremy was on his way to work. His phone rang. It was an unknown caller. Jeremy picked it up anyways. He said hello, but at first the line was flat. He could tell that somebody was on the other end, but they didn't say anything back at all. He said hello again and nothing. Just as he was about to hang up, a muffled voice that sounded very similar to his father's spoke up. His father's voice was soft and there was something wrong. It almost felt as if his father was being forced to speak. He told Jeremy to beware the purple golf cart and that if he saw it, it meant that he was going to go straight to hell. Then, before Jeremy could ask any questions, a loud, maniacal laugh was heard over the receiver and the phone hung up. Obviously, he was pretty freaked out at this point, so he quickly dialed up his dad. No answer though. Then he called his mom. When she picked up, she was in tears. She told him that she was just about to call him and that his father had just passed away. He was out on the golf course driving around a purple golf cart and the cart's brakes stopped working and he accidentally drove straight over a cliff. From that day forward, Jeremy is a full believer in the devil and in hell. He's told this story many times and thinks that when he received that unknown phone call, it was actually his dad calling him from hell. The devil was forcing him to call his son, and that maniacal laugh at the end of the call was the devil himself cackling at the entire situation. Jeremy hasn't come within a golf course ever since that call and refuses to. Golf carts, or frankly anything golf related, is strictly off limits for him because he believes if he sets foot inside or even sees a purple golf cart, that could be the end of him. And honestly, I know being scared of a purple golf cart sounds kind of ridiculous, but if I had got that phone call, then I'd be feeling the exact same way. Number 4 on this list is your deepest desire. This is a story from a Quora user named JP. Somebody asked them if they had ever spoken to the devil and they replied, "I believe so. I woke up one morning facing the wall of my bedroom. Bed was pushed up against the wall. Rolled over the other direction and there standing in front of me was a guy just standing there, wearing a suit, very typical of a well-dressed businessman. I was going through a rough time, personal stuff. He says one thing to me, I can give you what you want. All while this is going on, I felt no worries or fear. Seemed oddly normal. My answer was, and still is, no. I did know what he was offering. I wanted it, but not for free. I had no belief one way or another about God at the time. I wouldn't say I didn't believe, I just never put much thought into religion. I can now say without a doubt God exists. Not because I've seen him or met him, but because I've met his enemy. My life has never been the same. I feel now without any choice of my own. I live with one foot in the spirit and one foot in the real world. Wish I could go back to being ignorant. And for that reason alone, I am happy to have never faced the devil head on like JP has. All innocence is gone from you after you see and hear something like that. Now you know that everything you do, you are being watched by the devil and also by God too. Pretty scary thing to wake up to there. Number 3 on this list is the purple golf cart. So I told this story in another video we did talking about the devil, but I have to tell it again considering how terrifying it actually is. Jeremy is a 31-year-old man who just over a decade ago lost his father. On that day, the one of the death though, he received a crazy message, one that haunts him to this day. It was early in the morning and Jeremy was on his way to work. His phone rang, he didn't know the number. Jeremy picked it up. He said hello. No response, the line was flat. He could tell that someone was on the other end, but they didn't say anything back. He said hello again. Nothing. He thinks, okay, butt dial, and is about to hang up when a muffled voice comes up. The voice sounded identical to his father's. His father's voice was soft and there was something wrong. It almost felt as if his father was being forced to speak. He told Jeremy to beware of the purple golf cart and that if he saw it, it meant that he was going straight to hell. Before Jeremy could ask any questions, a loud maniacal laugh was heard over the receiver and the phone hung up. He was rightfully freaked out at this point, so he quickly dialed up to his dad. No answer. Then he called his mother. She picked up and he heard sobbing. She told him that she was just about to call him and that his father had just died. He was out on the golf course driving around a purple golf cart and the cart's brakes stopped working. He accidentally drove straight off of a cliff. From that day forward, Jeremy is a full believer in the devil and in hell. He's told his story many times and thinks that when he received that unknown phone call, it was actually his dad calling him from hell. The devil was forcing him to call his son, and that maniacal laugh at the end of the call was the devil himself loving the brutality of it all. Jeremy hasn't come within a golf course ever since that call and refuses to. Golf carts, or frankly anything golf related, is strictly off limits for him. If he touches or even sees a purple golf cart, that could be the end. And honestly, I know being scared of a purple golf cart sounds kind of ridiculous, but if I got that phone call, then I'd be feeling the exact same way. Number 2 on this list is I can't wait. I can't wait. Those are the words that Serena heard back in 2011 when she had a face-to-face encounter with the devil. She was snorkeling out in Australia at the time. She was a regular and knew her way around the reef. This time though, she made an almost fatal mistake. She was stung by a creature that did not want to be disturbed. Her whole body froze up and it went into shock. Her one friend, who was snorkeling with her, noticed after a few minutes and dragged her to shore. At this point though, she had taken in so much water and the sting was really bad. She was fading very fast. While her friend called the ambulance and tried to get help, Serena was in her own world entirely. That world was hell. Serena traveled to hell and was standing on top of a mountain looking down at the flames and death below. People strung up getting abused by demons of all shapes and sizes. The torture was horrible and the screams were even worse. Shadow creatures flew and circled around the skies and clouds shot down lightning that was actually fire. It was truly hell being there. Then the entire world started to shift and a giant creature that Serena could only imagine was the devil took shape in the sky. It smiled and cackled and looked straight at her. Then it said, "I can't wait to meet you, Serena. See you very soon." And just like that, her eyes opened and she saw a paramedic reviving her on the beach. She had died for a little bit there and went to hell, and the devil himself stopped in to tell her how excited he was to meet her. Since then, Serena has quit snorkeling completely, probably for the best after an experience like that. And finally, number 1 on this list is the end. The devil has a lot of powers. We probably don't even know what they all are, to be honest, considering most people who deal with the devil don't last long enough to tell us about them. Either way, he is clearly a very powerful creature, and knowing when the world will end, that could be one of his capabilities. Well, apparently Bill Madigan had a run-in with him, and he told him just that. Bill was walking around the Black Forest in Germany, a haunted forest that we've actually talked a lot about on this channel before. He was hiking around when he saw some bright red glowing in the distance. He approached it and realized something was very wrong. He decided that he wanted to turn around and got a bad feeling, but his body actually wouldn't let him. His feet just kept walking in the direction of the light even though he wanted to stop. Finally, he got to the source of the light and he saw what he can only believe to be the devil performing some very sick and sadistic rituals that I can't even get into deep detail about because it's that bad. The devil looked at Bill right in his eyes and told him that he could take his life now, but instead of doing that, he wanted Bill to see his grand finale. He also told Bill that he wouldn't have to wait very long, only 2 decades from now his grand finale would be revealed. This happened back in 2016, so if we do the math, that would mean that the world might end in 2036. That doesn't leave us a whole lot of time, folks. Number 5 on this list is the Devil's Town. The Devil's Town is a place in Serbia that's basically a collection of very interesting natural forming rocks. Or at least we think it's natural forming. Mehana Mihajovic says the Devil's Town is one of the widely known places in Serbia. Situated between 2 ravines of the creepy names the Devil's Ravine and Hell's Ravine, there lies the spookiest natural monument. Over 200 randomly formed stone poles up to 20 meters in height. Almost all the poles carry the black cap from volcanic rock andesite, adding to the overall peculiar atmosphere around the place. Close to the locality, there are fresh mineral water wells and ruins of an old church. The mysticism of the Devil's Town Natural Monument keeps fueling the imagination of the local people. One of the widely known legends suggests that a long time ago, local people threw a wedding party for a brother and a sister that fell in love with a little help from the devil's spells. God wanted to punish all the attendees and turned them into the stones where they still lay to this day. The other legend suggests that the devil's poles are actually local kids who refused to learn and decided to live an immoral life stripped of knowledge. It sure sounds like a great way to make your kids do their homework. So regardless of which legend you choose to believe in, this is evidence that the devil was once around here. As far as what sort of message this leaves behind, I guess you need to be the one to decide, right? Is this a way for the devil to just reinforce his legitimacy? Is this a way for the devil to instill fear in people? Is this a way for the devil to tell us that we should actually be fearing God? These are all interesting things to consider and think about when we're talking about the devil's town. I will say something and give the devil a little credit. If these rocks were actually formed by him and some devilish activity, then honestly, nice work, man. They're very cool and made a strong push to become part of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Maybe people decided to leave them out of that list though, because promoting something created by the devil himself might not be the best idea. Comment down below what you guys think this weird and creepy formation of rocks could truly mean. Number 4 on this list is the afterlife texts. Joni Garther remembers February 18th, 2015 like it was yesterday. That was the day her mother died. She got a phone call from her father that her mother had been in a car accident and she was killed. Obviously, she was extremely distraught, but she became even more so when she received some text messages later that day. Hours after her mother was confirmed dead, she got some text messages from her mother's phone number. They read, "I have her now. She is burning. Her screams are comforting. Come scream with her, Joni." Yeah. Pretty unsettling, especially when this is coming from your dead mother's phone. They checked her mother's phone and nothing was there, no record of these messages at all. The police investigated, but they couldn't find anything significant either. Joni has never been able to get over those messages and they've haunted her for a long time. She's pretty sure that it was the devil messaging her and that her mother was with him. Number 3 on this list is the exorcism. Stephen Rossetti is a priest and psychologist and is a well-respected member in the community, having appeared on many talk shows before. He's well known for performing an absolute boatload of exorcisms. Like, this dude knows how to exorcise a demon. In fact, Stephen performs roughly 20 exorcisms per week and he has a literal whole crew that travels with him to help him do this. We're talking about the Drake of exorcist people here. Because he's so well known in this exorcist community, it's fair to assume that the demonic community, if there even is one of those, knows about him well and probably isn't too fond of him. Well, that has certainly been made abundantly clear, especially from the text messages that he received from potentially the devil. In one of his more recent exorcisms where he dealt with a teenage girl, the family of this girl, and him included, got some super scary and very threatening messages. The messages read, "Her torments start now, priests, all night. While you and that friend of yours sleep, we will make her bleed. We will make her blood." Yeah, so that's a big no-no from me, and definitely not the type of message I'd be wanting to receive. They aren't even done yet though, because then they go on to say, "We're glad she's away from you now." The weirdest part about this is that the messages came from that girl's phone, but when they looked on her phone to see, sure enough, the messages couldn't be found. Rossetti is pretty convinced that these messages were the work of the devil, or at the very least, a high-ranking demon. Clearly, this girl is of some value to the devil in some capacity, and her soul has got to be harvested for some evil purpose. Stephen Rossetti took these messages from the devil super seriously and basically made it his mission to get this demon out. To my understanding, he did succeed, but I wouldn't be shocked if the devil came knocking again. Number 2 on this list is the Mercedes. This story is from a Reddit user when he was 20 years old, when he had what he describes to be the scariest encounter of his life with potentially the devil. Our protagonist decided to skip work this particular day and hang out with his girlfriend. They start their day off by heading to a bar and getting a drink. I must say, so far I'm pretty jealous of this guy. Anyways, when they arrive at the bar, it's empty. After a few minutes though, something super weird happens. A man, dressed very proper in a black suit, looking like a very serious fellow, enters the bar and then decides to sit directly between the pair of them. Yeah. Pretty creepy considering the entire place is empty. So now they're separated by this dude, but before they say anything at all, the man starts running his fingers on the table. He does this in a way that hypnotizes both our guy and his girlfriend. Then this weird guy says, "I notice you're a man who pays attention to detail. I'm also a man who pays attention to detail." Our guy snaps out of his trance and then notices that this dude sitting between them has piercing gray eyes, long fingernails, and keeps licking his lips. At this point, he tells his girlfriend to go to the washroom. She does so immediately, also sensing that something might not be right. Right as his girlfriend leaves, the man turns to him and says, "You were supposed to go fishing today. If you had, I would have drowned you in that ocean. We've been watching you." At that moment, apparently the man then uttered some guttural shriek-like language that didn't make any sense. Our protagonist got up to leave at this point, but before he could, the man grabbed him and said that the next time you see me, I'll be in a black Mercedes and the license plate will say Utopia. To this day, he is deathly scared of Mercedes cars and even looking at the license plate of any vehicle, swearing that he saw the devil that day back in the bar. And finally, number 1 on this list is the bus rider. A young girl named Victoria was just trying to get home one evening when she believed she was confronted by the devil. She just finished working a long shift at her restaurant and was waiting for the bus. She got on and moved to the back. At the back of the bus, though, there was a very strange looking man. He was muttering to himself and acting rather crazy. Now, this isn't completely uncommon on public transit. I feel like we've all been on a bus with a crazy dude before, but this was a little different. His mannerisms didn't look human, and the words he was saying, they didn't make any sense. Then, all of a sudden, he started screaming and the lights on the bus flickered. The bus pulled to the side of the road and Victoria and the few other people on board quickly got off, but so did this man. Right as the bus pulled off, luckily another bus on the same route was only a stop behind. It pulled up and everybody got on, but Victoria was too late. The bus was trying to trap the crazy man out, but in the process also trapped out her. Now it was just her, this man, and the other bus driver on the original bus late at night on the side of the road. She then tried to make a beeline for the other original bus, but the crazy man stepped in front of her. He grabbed both of her arms and his eyes rolled to the back of his head. She was squirming and trying to break free, but she couldn't. Then his mouth opened far wider than it ever should be able to, and inside his mouth she saw the face of the devil. It said to her, "Eat my blood, Victoria. Your flesh will be succulent milk." She screamed in terror, and right as she did so, the original bus driver came to her rescue and smacked the crazy man across the head. The pair ran onto the original bus and drove away. After that evening, she never took the bus again and constantly lives in fear of the devilish bus rider. Number 5 on this list is Weirdo. This one's a bit weird. Michelle Clark Miller says, "Not me, but my uncle's best friend actually went to hell. My uncle was a Vietnam vet and was still close with some members of his platoon. One of them, nicknamed Weirdo, had the usual problems with most traumatized vets. He drank, he did drugs, he beat on people. He'd been in and out of jail, in and out of rehab. Then one day he had a heart attack and died on the table. He said he woke up in a dark place full of volcanoes, swamps. He said it smelled awful and all you could hear was people screaming. He said he was full of fear, dread, and despair, but when he turned around to run, all he saw was fire, lava, smoke, and tar. Then he heard a man's voice say, 'You have one more chance, Jonathan.' That was his real name. Next thing he knew, he was in a hospital room surrounded by his wife, his Vietnam buddies, and their families. And yeah, he turned his life around. Yeah, I think my life would be 100% different if I straight up went to hell, saw the devil there, saw how bad hell actually was, and then had him tell me that if I don't figure it out, I'm basically gonna be here for all eternity. No, 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 no. Yeah, that would straight up traumatize me forever, guys. I think what's kind of crazy about this, though, is that he got a second chance. Like, you think about the devil, and you don't really think about the devil giving out a whole lot of second chances. Maybe he was just in a good mood or something. I don't know what it was, but hopefully Weirdo got the memo and doesn't need to go back there anytime soon. Number 4 on this list is Hotel California. Hotel California is right up there as being one of rock's best songs ever. I feel like I have a very special connection to the Eagles classic because I remember in 10th grade or sometime in high school, I had to do a project breaking down a classic song and looking at the lyrics and really evaluating them. I decided to do mine on Hotel California, and it was through this project that I learned something very interesting about this piece of music. Hotel California may have been partly written by the devil. Thoman says it's not only on Halloween that you can expect the devil to be up to no good in the background. For example, with the super hit Hotel California by the Eagles, when played in reverse, the secret message says, "Satan, he hears this. He had me believe incredible or verifiable." Was the ruler of hell involved making the Eagles' greatest hits album the best-selling album of the 20th century in the US? Now this is the message you get when you play it backwards, but you don't even need to play it backwards to get some pretty weird messages just listening to it in general. The whole song itself is a complete trip. One line in the song says, "This could be heaven or this could be hell." Another line says, "We are all just prisoners here of our own device." And finally the song finishes by saying, "You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave." The whole song itself could be one big metaphor for hell, let alone the secret message in the song that you hear when you listen to it in reverse. What do you guys think? Was this actually the work from the devil? Number 3 on this list is the Devas. The Devas actually come from the religion Zoroastrianism and are part of that religion's demonic entities. If you're unfamiliar with that religion, then just know that it is one of the oldest religions ever and is still being practiced today. Well, there are tons of messages in scripture and artwork describing these demons that basically act as warning messages to all who may have the misfortune of running into them. Grunge says, traditionally Devas are thought to be the creation of Ahriman, an antagonist and equally powerful counterpart to the benevolent creator. In one of their religious texts, the Gathas, Devas are described as rejected gods with an affinity for evil who, for whatever reason, still hold sway with some followers. One of their chief character traits is an inability to discern truth from lies, making them at least psychologically adjacent and possibly directly related to most roommates that you've likely met on Craigslist. All kidding aside though, these things can be very, very dangerous, and many people believe that a lot of the work and scripture that talks about them, that was actually left behind from the devil. The purpose of doing this was to strike fear into people and make them start to distrust their fellow human. Number 2 on this list is the Blood Falls. Once again, we have a naturally occurring wonder that people believe is actually a hidden message from the devil. Let me tell you the geological explanation of this, and then I'll tell you the possible demonic explanation. Atlas Obscura says, roughly 2 million years ago, the Taylor Glacier sealed beneath it a small body of water, which contained an ancient community of microbes. Trapped below a thick layer of ice, they have remained there ever since, isolated inside a natural time capsule. Evolving independently of the rest of the living world, these microbes exist in a place with no light or free oxygen and little heat, and are essentially the definition of primordial ooze. The trapped lake has very high salinity and is rich in iron, which is what gives the waterfall its red color. A fissure in the glacier allows the subglacial lake to flow out, forming the falls without contaminating the ecosystem within. So that's the geological explanation. The one involving the devil isn't as calm and cool though. This legend says that a man died and was sent to hell. Now he got there and obviously didn't love where he was. The man was continuously tortured and mistreated, as we can all expect from being in hell. Well, apparently this particular man wasn't about staying here forever. One day he attempted a daring escape and actually made it pretty far. He found a gateway between hell and the natural world. This gateway led directly to Antarctica, where the falls are now. He made it back to our physical world, but then the devil showed up. The devil brutally mutilated and cut the man to pieces, creating a waterfall of blood. The devil then seized sealed this blood in ice as a warning and message to everyone left on Earth never to attempt to go in or out of hell. Finally, number 1 on this list is the Codex Gigas. This book often makes all of our lists when we're talking about the most haunted or most cursed books ever, and rightfully so. This book, written many years ago, was literally by the hand of the devil. Mental Floss says the book's sinister reputation stems from a full-color portrait of the devil contained in its pages and a legend about how the image got there. According to folklore, the book is the work of a monk, possibly Hermanus Hermitas or Herman the Recluse, who had broken his vows and been sentenced to be walled up alive in the monastery. He struck a deal to save himself. If, over the course of a single night, he could write a book containing all the world's knowledge, his life would be spared. When he realized the task was impossible, the monk sold his soul to the devil, who helped him finish the book and signed it with the now infamous portrait. Now, I'd love to tell you guys what message the devil left for us in here, but that would require me to read the book myself, which I have absolutely no intention of ever doing. Legends have been told of people becoming insane and losing their minds and all sense of reality after reading it. So, even if I did read it with the intention of relaying the messages to you guys, I don't know if I'd even be capable of doing so. It's been kept in Sweden's National Library and has been there for several hundred years if you guys wanted to go and give it a read. I don't recommend it.